for yourself. I know you love it, working for yourself, 'cause I love it too, working for yourself.
Hello and welcome to season 15, episode 6. Did I sell or rent my house? That is the key question. If you're following along with my episode, you will know what I did. I basically looked at the options of my house. I had a couple of estate agents value the house. I let you be the fly on the wall. You could hear the conversation. I spoke to some estate agents about renting out my house. They gave me a few options there. What did I decide to do? Well, breaking news, analysis paralysis. I went out looking for houses. So this entire process of buying a house and selling your house can be very time consuming. Finding a house takes a long time, and to cut a long story short, I decided with the current situation, with all the news and all the information out there about renting out your house and becoming a landlord, there's a lot of obligations there which kind of caused me to worry. So I actually decided to put my house up for sale, and I will do another episode focusing on whether you should use an estate agent or not, and also at the moment what stage of the process I am in. So let me give you a recap. We had estate agents come around. Estate agents valued my house anything from as low as £170,000 all the way up to £210,000, in some cases 220. And I basically didn't like the approach from the estate agents. A number of them were very, what's a nice way of putting this? Snakes, sleazy. Also in communications with them, they're very not clear, not straightforward. And in business, I like to be straightforward. This is the situation, and if you get a good response, it's best to find out what works. You're currently, if you're watching the video version of this podcast, you're seeing a couple of houses that I looked at as the next house option, and those are in the range of £300,000 to £350,000, and had a lot of viewings. And I just wanted to get into the market to understand what's going on. So I will be selling my house, using the proceeds from that sale to then fund my next house purchase, which means there will be a chain because I will need to sell my house in order to buy the next house. I also looked at some solicitors and got them in place. I want to be speaking about conveyancers and solicitors, which is basically the people you need to do all the legal stuff of buying a house. But I did decide to sell my house, and I actually spoke to a number of local neighbours, got the word out that I was thinking of selling the house, and you will be surprised how many people are looking to buy a house, especially if you let them know, okay, I'm planning to move on, I may consider selling my house. And one of the neighbours said, actually, I need a house. Can we have a look? I had a video recorded of the house. So when the house is nice and looking at its best, I recorded a video internally. I have that saved on my phone, and I basically WhatsApped it to a couple of people that said they were interested, and two of them that saw my video of my house said, okay, that sounds perfect. I'd like to put an offer in. And considering the house is valued at a large amount of money, luckily on this podcast, I'm sharing with you all the information. I'm not going to be hiding anything. So the house was valued and should have gone for £195,000 easily, based on other recommendations in the area and what they're selling for through estate agents. What I actually did was I said, okay, you know what? I'm not using an estate agent. If you're buying this through me directly and we're doing it at like a no estate agent involvement, I'll just let you save the fee that the estate agent would have saved me. So I kind of went in with the 190,000 as the price. And one of the neighbors said, that sounds a little bit high. How about 185? I was like, yeah, okay. If you can do 185, let's do it. So we agreed at 185. They had a little bit of difficulty with their mortgage provider. Now, let me give you a time estimate. This all happened in October. So 30th of October, this happened. And by the end of January, we're still in the final stages of processing. So think about that. We won't count October because that was the end of it. So we've got November, December, entire January, and it's been 3 months. What has happened in 3 months? I was able to get my house conveyancer sorted out. So I did all the paperwork for that. The buyer of the house did all their solicitor, conveyancer. They kind of got onboarded with them. The searches got put in. And one of the things that takes the longest is the local searches. And it just took ridiculously long. We're looking at like 3 to 4 weeks for those to come back. So for at least a month, you're basically knocked out. So after that, the searches came back. And those are, if you think about searches, what they basically do is they say, okay, the house is this big. The boundary is this big. There's pipes around the house in these locations. Have there been any previous extensions carried out on the house? Is there any certificates in place? So everything that's like, the messy stuff about buying a house, they ask questions. So in this example, the searches were done on my house and the solicitor sent a list of questions to me saying, okay, these are the questions and what do you say to these? So for example, they talked about there's a manhole cover in the garden and there's a pipe going underneath. Did you have a build over an agreement on all these types of questions, legal questions? And I went back with my original purchase, which is I bought this house in 2006. And I said to them, well, I bought this house in 2006. That extension was already present. My solicitor gave me a letter to say, here's the situation. Do you wish to proceed? And I said, well, yeah, I want to buy the house. I don't care. So I bought the house. It's been over 18, 19 years. So I've got nothing to say on the matter. If the buyer wants to do some insurance or wants to do some digging, he can do it at his own expense. But I've got no more further details on this question. So a couple of other questions about like extensions and loft use and things like that. And I mentioned I'm using the loft as a storage room. The loft has never been used as a bedroom and is not planned to be used as a bedroom unless you want to go through the relevant permissions, and you can do that on your own expense. So little questions like this. What else did they ask? I think that was the main 2-3 questions. About also they said, when you leave the house, we don't want any rubbish left in the house. I said, yeah, well, I'm taking everything with me and anything that's left over will be disposed of. So there's a couple of videos playing on screen at the moment. These are viewings I've had of properties that I'm looking at. So I wanted to include those just to give you an idea of the types of properties that you would do and what you can expect from buying a house at the same time. So in essence, to summarize, what was the situation? Renting the house would have been very time consuming, stressful. If I give this house to somebody else, I would have to have, because I was living here myself, I didn't have any of these things such as electrical certificates, gas safe certificates, EPCs. I didn't have any of this stuff realistically. I only had what I had. So as in I was living here. So that's basically what was going on. We had a storm pass through and I had a little video there of all the trees that fell. So I included that here. This house you're looking at now was a nice contender. It was on a hill, but it was a very nice contender for the house. So yeah, renting wise, I wasn't prepared to be a landlord. Having questions from people and having to chase rent and it seemed like a lot of responsibility. And in my current line of work, I enjoy the jobs that I do, and it's not as much hassle as what I will need to do to basically get £1,000 rent a month, which would just be not worth the stress. And if there's any issues of maintenance, it depends on your mindset and where you are with this situation. But renting was not for me. I would not rent my house out because it just seems like having another house to worry about and having extra maintenance and all sorts of stuff. So in that example, I'm basically saying I did not decide to rent out my house. I'm selling my house and I am buying another house with the proceeds and some savings, and there's going to be a mortgage there as well. So that means we can get to a nicer location, slightly bigger house. I will be doing an episode explaining the house that I will be buying, and I'll probably bring you along on the journey with me. There's a lot of issues I faced, and those were very stressful, especially about the house that I'm buying. There is an estate agent involved. So that estate agent has been a nightmare. And the estate agent, that's the only estate agent involved, as well as the conveyancer. So in the next episode, I'm going to be speaking about all the issues you will face when you try and buy a house and sell a house. So stay tuned for the next episode, and I think you'll enjoy this. Again, this is a journey, and through my podcast, I basically share with you how I'm doing it, what I'm doing, and this is a major part of our journey. So I started my company. We had a lot of jobs. We've done a lot of sharing with you. I had a lot of guests on my podcast, and now I'm at part of my life where I'm buying a house, and I feel it relevant in this podcast to share it with you, because at some point when you do really well in business, you're going to want to buy another house. You're going to want to move. You want to get a nicer house, a bigger house, or whatever it may be. And I'm hoping having you along with this journey explains the options you've got out there and just prepares you for what can happen. If you're prepared and you know what's likely to happen, it can be good for you, because you can be like, okay, we've heard a lot of people say it takes 6 months to buy a house. Does it actually take 6 months? What is the major delay? What can we do to speed that up? So I'm envisioning having bought and moved into my house within 4 months. Currently, we're at 3 months, and I feel like we're towards the end of this process. Right now is the 28th of January, and I'm hoping at this time next month, I will be in the house, 28th of Feb. If I'm not, then there must be something seriously going on. So follow along, and I'm going to give you a next episode explaining these issues and the delays, basically. So I appreciate you being here with me. Let's see you on the next episode. It would be really good if you can leave a review wherever you're listening to this. The show resources are available at zulftalks.com. You can also sign up to the mailing list there, which will allow you to get information to help you on your journey working for yourself.